Coming up next on Cooking with MFRD, Assistant Chief Kaye Jernigan shares with us her spin on a family favorite. Hello and welcome to this episode of Cooking with MFRD. I'm your host, Ashley McDonald, and we have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to have Assistant Chief Jernigan here making her famous Rice Krispie Treats. You're going to need to grab the following ingredients: 1 small box of Kellogg's Rice Krispies, 1 stick of real butter, 6-ounce bag of Kraft miniature marshmallows, and a non-stick spray or non-stick pan. I'd like to welcome to the show Assistant Chief Kaye Jernigan. Kaye, thank you for being here this morning. So you're going to walk us through your famous Rice Krispie Treat recipe, is that correct?
I am.
Where do we get started?
We get started with, I've turned the stove on, I have it on medium heat,
Okay.
and I'm going to put the butter in here.
Okay.
I usually get a whole stick of butter, but I got these little quarters today, so on one of them I'm going to put the entire little quarter in here to get ready to melt.
Okay.
And then on this one I only need half of this one to make about 3/4 of a stick of butter. And the reason I use 3/4 of a stick is because I'm using the 16-ounce bag of marshmallows instead of the 10-ounce bag.
Okay. So typically, would you just use like a half a cup or?
If you were using the 10-ounce bag of marshmallows, then you would only need 3 tablespoons, which is
Oh, okay.
one of these little quarters,
Okay.
or half a stick.
Okay.
So we'll get this butter melted here.
Got a good little sizzle going on the
We
butter.
do have a good sizzle going because we've had this pan getting warmed up here. And if the butter is cold, I usually cut it up in little bitty pieces so that it'll melt a little bit easier.
Okay.
And if it's not, which ours was not cold, so it didn't matter whether I cut it up. And what I usually do, I have a 4-quart non-stick pan, but even though it's non-stick, I usually tilt the pan a little bit and get some of the butter on the edges just to help make it a little bit more non-stick, I guess.
Okay.
So
That's a pretty good tip.
that butter is melted. So
Okay.
once that's melted, then I use the 16-ounce bag of marshmallows and the miniature marshmallows instead of the 10-ounce bag because my family eats them so many of them that if I use the small bag, then there's not enough to go around.
Then you get complaints about the marshmallows.
Well, I get complaints because there's not enough of the treat, so I have to usually take 2 pans anymore to my family functions.
So now you were telling me earlier about the way that you tell that you have a good package of marshmallows. So tell us how you go about doing that when you're in the grocery
Right.
store.
Usually when I'm in, and you have to stir this quite a bit while it's going.
You
to keep it
can
from
stir
stick.
it while we're talking.
But I usually, when I'm in the store, I kind of see if they're fluffy in the bag. If they're all mashed up or a big clunk of them, then I usually put that one back and get me one they're real
Okay.
fluffy inside the bag.
And you don't want to get one that has a great deal sticker on it because that means that they're probably not fluffy.
And I always check the expiration date on the bag too while I'm in the store
That's a good idea.
to make sure that they're not expired, because that happens every now and then.
So now the way that I found out that Assistant Chief Jernigan had this great recipe was from another one of our assistant chiefs in the office, Alan Swader. He swears they're the best that he's ever had. And I guess that means you've been cooking these for quite a while. He's had some over the years. How long have you been making this recipe?
I've been actually making these since I was about 5 years old. I have a picture somewhere, but I'm not sure where it's at, of me standing in a chair at the stove trying to stir these when I was about 5 years old.
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, I'd like to get my hands on that picture. We could do like a Throwback Thursday on Facebook or Twitter or something.
Yeah, I'm not going to look for that picture very hard.
So you mentioned your family. You do have a lot of family members, and so you do have to carry a couple of pans. One of her brother-in-law actually works for the fire department. He's one of our captains. So.
Right. I used to could get away with just making 1 pan and taking to family functions, but as nieces and nephews and everybody's getting older, it takes more to feed all of them. So.
And she has a 4-year-old growing boy also. And does he like these treats?
He loves these treats.
He could probably eat his weight in these treats.
Just about.
I say he's a little boy, but he's really not that little. He's almost as tall as I am.
He's my
Hi,
sweetheart.
Robert.
He's my sweetheart.
He's my boyfriend. So how do you know that you've got the consistency where you're ready to pour the cereal in?
I just keep watching the marshmallows, and as they melt, you see little lumps in here while they're melting.
Okay.
And when all the lumps start to go away, then it'll get.
Now, could you use like the jet puffed cream to make these?
You can use the jet puff cream. You can use the larger marshmallows. You can use whatever you want. You can use the off-brand or the generics, but I'm only going to use the Kraft jet puff, and I only want the miniature marshmallows because they melt easier than the larger ones. And to me, the cream tastes different, so that's why I don't use it.
Right. And you've been doing this for a while, so you kind of trial and error. You've done it all. You can make them with your eyes closed. You know it tastes the best. So.
And as these marshmallows get toward the end, I usually turn the heat completely off.
Okay.
And they're all melted now, so I generally will take that off of the eye to get it off of the heat, and then I'm ready to pour the Rice Krispies in, and I will only use Kellogg's Rice Krispies when I make mine. You can use whatever you want. You can use Cocoa Crisp if you want chocolate, but all I use is the Kellogg.
So now you didn't measure the cereal, so tell me about that. You can just kind of eyeball it.
Right. Well, I've been making these so long. I mean, I think the recipe calls for 6 cups.
Okay.
But that's with a 10-ounce bag. So I measured the other night just so I could see, and it's usually around 7 to 8 cups of Rice Krispies. But that depends on whether you like them to be crispier or if you like them to be more marshmallowy. My family prefers them more marshmallowy. So
I like them that way
but
too.
I just do it by eyeball. As I stir it, I can look at it and tell.
Okay. And you can make these with all different kinds of cereals also, right?
Yes, whatever your preference is.
Cocoa Krispies, Fruity Pebbles.
Yes, any of that. It works just fine if that's what your taste is.
But today we're going to have the famous ones, so they've got only the best for
so
the
they're
Kaye's
be
famous.
the way I make them. And I won't, if I'm going to make them, I will not use anything but the Kellogg's, the Kraft, and real butter. I don't use margarine either.
Yeah, who needs margarine when you've got real butter?
And for people who are watching their weight,
They don't need to be eating Rice Krispies.
well, the only bad thing in the Rice Krispies is the butter. The treats, the butter is the only bad thing. Rice Krispies have no fat, and marshmallows have no fat.
So does that mean I can eat the whole pan when we're finished?
Probably not if you're watching your weight with it having 3/4 of a stick of butter.
Darn.
Okay.
I thought I would try.
All right. So now after I get them all stirred up, mixed up together, I just pick it up, dump them out
I
here.
see where that butter around the pan, the little tip you gave us, kind of helped it slip right on out.
And I generally get any of the leftovers, set that over out of the way, and I take my knife to get all this off of my spoon.
This is the only part I hate about marshmallows or marshmallow cream. It just seems to get everywhere when you use it.
Right. If I was at home, whatever was left stuck on the knife, I would probably just eat off the knife and then put this knife in the dishwasher. But I won't do that while I'm here.
I might not even put it in the dishwasher.
Well. So now I normally take my spoon and run this under the sink, water in the sink, but I've got a bowl here. I'm going to try it this way to just put that there, and then you smooth these out into the pan. And this is a non-stick pan. If you don't have a non-stick pan at home, then just spray it with the non-stick spray. And if you don't, they will most definitely stick in that pan. I just smooth them all out get them.
Okay, and typically how long do you have to wait to cut them up and eat them?
Well, they need to sit for about an hour if you want to be able to cut them. Sometimes my family gets in a hurry and they just come in here with a fork or something and start getting them, but then they droop everywhere when you do that.
Well, it is tempting to do that because they do smell good and they do look good. So
But there they are after they sit up.
Well, Assistant Chief Jernigan has made us a few treats already today, so we're going to get to try those out without waiting for an hour. So I'm going to grab them and move these out of the way. I'll eat those later. Since I found out how low fat they are, I'm not going to worry about the butter. So now before you cut them, is there any special way because of the marshmallows that you have to cut them? Any special utensils or
I
tips
usually
or tricks?
just use a butter knife. If you use a knife that's sharper than that, and if you have one of these thin aluminum pans, it'll go all the way through the pan. So be sure and watch what you're doing. I have a cake pan at home I use, so I can use whatever knife I want. But I usually cut 2 straight lines the long way, and then I'll cut across the other way when I cut them.
Okay. You could just cut it right down the middle too, you know.
You could, but and
I was trying to give you a hint, but
they're not very easy to cut. You got to put a little.
see, there we go.
I just put a hole in the pan.
Oh no, we're gonna have to clear out the whole pan now.
I'm sure these won't last very long. And then I just kind of cut them in. They're like about 2-inch by 2-inch squares is what I try to make them.
Okay. That little
And
crunch,
I'll go that all the
sound
way down
sounds so
through there.
good. Well, I've got a plate for you and a plate for me. Woo!
All
I
right.
wish I could have caught that. That
Sorry
would have
about
been
that.
awesome. That would have been great for TV. Now, if you're going to throw that one, let me know.
No, I'm not going to throw that one. All right.
All right, so now it's the taste test. I got you these orange napkins because I know you're a big UT fan.
Absolutely.
So, okay,
Ready?
I'm ready. Cheers.
Perfect.
You can
Perfect.
tell this one's mine because it's got lipstick all over it. Well, thank you so much, Assistant Chief Jernigan, for sharing this famous recipe with us. She's been here for how many years now?
I've been here for 28 years this November.
28 years. She's our Assistant Chief of Operations. She does a great job for the fire department. And she was recently recognized as Murfreesboro Magazine's one of their women in business. And so we're very proud of her, and we're proud for all that you do for us, and we're so glad that you joined us here today.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this, and I've enjoyed all my time at the Murfreesboro Fire Department too.
If you'd like to see this or some of our past episodes, you can catch it on YouTube, or you can visit www.murfreesborotn.gov/cookingwithmfrd. See you next time.